Is the global music world witnessing a historical anomaly, one in which an Asian idol without scandal, without cheap controversy, and even without full YouTube support, is accomplishing something that for decades was considered nearly impossible by the Western industry, to the point that even a name as big as Halsey seems left without words? The question sounds exaggerated, provocative, even dramatic. Yet that is precisely where the shock lies. Because what Jungkook has achieved through his solo debut song, 7, is not merely an ordinary chart accomplishment. This is a moment when numbers cease to be statistics and instead become a statement of global cultural power. For years, the Billboard global charts have been treated as the final stronghold of Western music dominance, a territory that could be visited, but rarely truly conquered by Asian artists, let alone consistently. Many have briefly tasted the top, only to fall as quickly as they rose. Viral songs come and go. Hype ignites, then fades. Even major names like Halsey, once a symbol of modern American pop success, have experienced the same cycle, arriving with an explosion, departing with time. Yet within this pattern, Jungkook has done the opposite of what industry logic would predict. He stayed, week after week, year after year, until in early 2026, the world was forced to pause and ask again, how is this possible? Billboard data for the week ending January 31st, 2026 stands as silent evidence of an anomaly that can no longer be denied. 7 remains on the Billboard Global 200 at number 146 with 130 weeks, and even more astonishingly, at number 78 on the Billboard Global X-School US chart with 132 weeks. These numbers are not merely a song's longevity. They represent the longest record ever achieved by an Asian solo artist in the history of both global charts. There is no other name. No exception. Just one. Jungkook. What makes this achievement feel almost surreal is its context. 7 was not released yesterday. It debuted in July 2023 as Jungkook's solo debut, during BTS's transitional period, when the group entered hiatus due to military service obligations. At the time, many analysts predicted rapid but short-lived success. K-pop history is filled with examples of solo debuts that explode, then fade. Yet those predictions collapsed one by one. Instead of declining, 7 refused to sink. Even when Billboard changed its rules and removed YouTube streams from its calculations, a shift expected to hit songs with strong fandom bases, 7 not only survived but climbed. A small detail that became a major clue. This was not merely fan-driven hype, but organic support from global listeners via Spotify and Apple Music. It is at this point that comparisons with Halsey become unavoidable, even if never explicitly stated. Halsey represents the archetype of a modern Western artist who understands the system, leverages algorithms, and creates songs that dominate global charts. Yet even at the peak of her career, it was rare for a single song to remain on global charts for a full 2.5 years with this level of consistency. Not due to a lack of quality, but because the global music system itself was never designed to sustain one song for that long, unless it seems the system is forced to adapt by something truly different. International media have begun to frame this narrative in tones that are no longer neutral. The Times of India described this achievement as one of the most defining moments for Asian artists in the modern era. Not only because of its duration, but because 7 surpassed records that Asian artists, both solo and groups, had never even touched before. As early as November 2025, the song had already broken the 117-week record on the Global 200, and many believed that was the peak. They were wrong. That record was merely a stepping stone. Meanwhile, public reaction has surged like an unstoppable wave. Armies around the world, including Indonesia, one of the largest fan bases, turned social media into a space of collective celebration. Accounts such as @Rapperjk and @GoldenJK shared graphics, data, and statements reinforcing one simple yet striking fact. Jungkook is the first and only Asian artist to reach these numbers. The phrase "first and only" appeared repeatedly, not as an empty slogan, but as a historical marker. Yet behind the fan euphoria lies a deeper unease within the industry. Because if a single song by a K-pop idol can endure for 2.5 years on global charts without relying on YouTube, without repeated aggressive promotion, and without the full presence of a group behind it, Then what does that say about the power of traditional promotional machinery? What does it mean for American market dominance? And most unsettling of all, are the standards of global success long upheld by Western artists, including Halsey, shifting permanently? These questions hang unanswered, yet echo ever louder. Jungkook, with 7, has not merely broken records. He has forced the world to acknowledge that the center of gravity in global music may be moving. Slowly, almost silently, yet irresistibly. And when the figure of 130 weeks was finally recorded officially, the moment felt like a quiet pause before collective realization set in. This is no longer about one song or one artist. This is the beginning of a new chapter, one not yet fully understood, even by those who have long stood at the top. And if this is only the beginning, then the most unsettling and tantalizing question of all emerges. How long will 7 continue to endure, and who, if anyone, will be able to stop it? This is the phase when the global music industry begins to realize that what Jungkook is doing is not merely a fleeting miracle, but a new pattern, one that is slowly yet steadily eroding old foundations. At this point, the question is no longer how could this happen, but rather, what is changing, and who will be left behind? For decades, Billboard, particularly the Global 200 and Global XSCL US charts, has been positioned as the barometer of Western musical supremacy. Even as K-pop began to break into international markets, the narrative remained the same. Success? Yes. Longevity? Uncertain. Songs from Asia were widely believed to have a short global lifespan, driven by fandom explosions before disappearing once public attention shifted. Yet 7 shattered that assumption brutally, not with noise or spectacle, but with cold, undeniable statistical persistence. 130 weeks. The number sounds abstract until it is translated into industry reality. It means surviving for more than 2.5 years amid a constant flood of new releases every week, shifting streaming algorithms, TikTok trends that rise and vanish overnight, and a global audience known for its short attention span. Within the same period, countless #1 hits were born, celebrated, and forgotten. Major albums were released, praised, and replaced by the next wave. Yet 7 remained like a shadow, refusing to disappear from the charts. This is where the context of Billboard's rule changes becomes crucial, and is often overlooked by casual observers. When Billboard removed YouTube streaming from its global chart calculations, many predicted this would mark a quiet ending for K-pop songs, long perceived as reliant on visuals and fandom power. The prediction was logical, and precisely for that reason, the impact was seismic when 7 not only survived but climbed. This fact rewrote the narrative entirely. It was no longer about a massive fanbase, but about a song that was genuinely being listened to, replayed, and consciously chosen by millions across cultures. At this point, comparisons with major Western artists, including Halsey, became unavoidable, even if never stated outright. Halsey represents a generation of American pop artists who are both artistically sharp and commercially savvy. Her songs once dominated global radio, editorial playlists, and pop culture conversations. Yet even within an ecosystem designed to support artists like her, it is exceedingly rare for a single song to endure this long without being repeatedly propelled by major promotional pushes. Jungkook did the opposite. He let time work in his favor. What is striking is that Jungkook's silence became his source of strength. There were no aggressive re-campaigns, no forced comeback narratives. BTS as a group was not even fully active due to military service obligations. Under conditions that should, in theory, weaken exposure, 7 instead displayed increasingly conspicuous durability. This paradox has led many industry analysts to rewrite their own conclusions. If an Asian artist, without a fully active group and without YouTube's chart support, can endure for 2.5 years, then something far more fundamental is taking place. Social media has become a space for collective reflection of this unease. Posts from fan accounts are no longer mere celebrations, but acts of historical documentation. Phrases like "first and only Asian soloist" appear repeatedly, and with each repetition, their weight grows heavier. These are not emotional claims. They are facts updated weekly by Billboard itself. The world may ignore 1 week or 10 weeks, but 130 weeks. At that point, ignorance turns into fragile denial. Beyond that, the success of Seven opens a far more sensitive discussion. Is the global market still governed by Western taste, or by cross-cultural emotional resonance? Jungkook sings in English, yet his identity is never disguised. He did not become a Western artist to be accepted. He was accepted as he is. This is a profound symbolic shift. For years, many non-Western artists felt compelled to fully conform to American standards to be considered relevant. Seven proves that relevance can now move in both directions. In Indonesia, this resonance is especially strong. As one of the largest army bases in the world, local fan responses are not only emotional but participatory. Legal streaming, weekly chart discussions, and Billboard data analysis have become collective routines. Yet notably, this surge of support is not exclusive. Streaming data shows listeners from Europe, Latin America, and even the United States continue to contribute significantly. This is not a regional phenomenon magnified, it is sustained global consumption, and amid all of this, the shadow of Halsey and Western artists of her generation remains as a silent comparison. Not as figures who have lost, but as markers of a changing era. When old standards can no longer explain new realities, the industry is forced to ask again. Do we still understand how a song can truly last? Or have we simply grown accustomed to the rapid cycles we created ourselves? One thing becomes clear, even if it is never officially stated. Seven is not merely a song with exceptional longevity. It is a mirror reflecting the industry's unpreparedness for a new era. An era in which Asian artists are no longer exceptions, but central to the equation. And if that center has indeed shifted, then the next chapter will no longer be about surprise, but about consequences. At a certain point, a record stops being news and begins to turn into legacy. This is the quietest yet most decisive phase of what Jungkook has accomplished with Seven. There are no more shocking numbers. No more explosions of first-time euphoria. What remains is a fact that continues to endure week after week, as if daring anyone to deny it. And it is precisely within this silence that its true meaning emerges. When a song is able to live on global charts for 2.5 years, it no longer stands merely as an industrial product, but as a cultural artifact. It breaks through the boundaries of release cycles, promotional seasons, and even media attention spans. Many major songs feel outdated within mere months because the world moves too fast. Yet, Seven refuses to become a casualty of that speed. It seems to have found its own space within the collective consciousness of global listeners, a space not easily overtaken by new songs, no matter how popular they may be. Here, Jungkook's role as a figure becomes crucial. He does not appear with an overt narrative of resistance, does not verbally challenge the West, and never claims to be changing the industry. Yet it is precisely this silence that most deeply unsettles the old order. Because without any declaration at all, he has achieved what has long been considered impossible for Asian artists: endurance, not merely entry. This consistency is what makes the achievement feel far weightier than a simple debut at the top. The shadow of Halsey reappears at this stage, not as a direct competitor, but as a symbol of a previous generation. Halsey is an artist shaped within an older system, where global success was measured by peaks rather than duration. Her songs once dominated pop culture spaces, became soundtracks of their time, and then made way for the next era. What Jungkook has done does not negate those achievements, but expands their definition. He shows that the peak is not the only measure, and that durability may ultimately matter far more in the long run. The fact that Seven continues to endure even as Jungkook does not actively promote himself aggressively only strengthens this narrative. BTS remains in hiatus, the members are fulfilling their respective obligations, and the entertainment world continues to move at a relentless pace. Under such conditions, logic would suggest that public attention should fully shift elsewhere. Yet the data says otherwise. Every week, the song is still being played, still being chosen, still relevant. And relevance without coercion is the aspect most rarely discussed, yet most threatening to the industry's old structures. This shift has begun to surface in more academic and strategic discussions. Music observers are re-examining long-held assumptions about the global market. Do audiences truly follow only the biggest promotional machines? Or are they, instead, seeking deeper emotional resonance, regardless of an artist's origin. 7 seems to answer quietly that global listeners may have been ready for this change for a long time. It is the industry that has lagged behind in Indonesia and many other countries. The impact extends far beyond chart numbers. This achievement has become a symbol of representation, proof that Asian artists no longer stand at the margins of the global stage. Conversations about legal streaming, long-term support, and the role of listeners in shaping music history have intensified. Fans are not merely celebrating, they feel part of something larger, a tangible, measurable historical shift. And perhaps this is the most emotional aspect of the entire story. 7 has not only set records for Jungkook, it has changed how millions of people perceive what is possible. It shows that boundaries once thought permanent are, in fact, fragile. That First and Only is not just a temporary label, but the result of unwavering consistency. Now, as the world looks at the Billboard charts each week, the question is no longer whether 7 will fall. The question is when, and whether that moment will carry the same meaning as other songs that have slipped off the charts before. Because not every fall signifies an ending. Some mark the transition from phenomenon to legend. If one day 7 finally disappears from the charts, it will not leave as a forgotten song. It will be recorded as a turning point, as proof that global music dominance is no longer monopolized by a single region or culture. And in that history, Jungkook's name will stand not only as a record breaker, but as a symbol of a new era, an era in which Asian artists no longer wait for recognition, because recognition arrives on its own. Perhaps that is why the world feels momentarily silent. Not merely because it is stunned, but because it recognizes that it is witnessing something not easily repeated. A moment when music, time, and persistence converge and permanently alter the map. When Jungkook's name is now mentioned in academic discussions on global music, he is no longer positioned as a K-pop idol, but as a case study in structural change within the industry. And perhaps years from now, when this record is revisited, people will no longer ask how 7 managed to endure for 2.5 years. Instead, they will ask why the world took so long to realize that the transformation had already begun long before.